For decades, Azrov's gas heaven offered the last chance for weary travelers to rest and fuel up before the long, hard haul through the backcountry wastes. Wiser travelers learned to decline that offer. Cars and trucks were always breaking down around gas heaven, the phones never worked, and people had a peculiar habit of going missing. When the new highway came through, bypassing gas heaven entirely, business dried up and the old gas station was abandoned. Between the disappearances and Azrov's mob ties, no one knows quite how many bodies are stashed out there in that forest, or what else is hidden in the ruins of the old rest stop. If you haven't figured it out by now, today we are going to be looking at the totem spawns on Autohaven Wreckers Gas Heaven. Now, before we get into this, I just want to let you guys know that we do stream throughout the week at twitch.tv/parkless. So come on by, hang out, have a good time, ask any questions you might have, and I'll be sure to try and answer them best I can. Now, if you're new to Dead by Daylight, or this is your first time watching one of our videos here, what we do is we try and show you where all the totem spawns are on any particular map. Now, when a trial starts, every single map has a large pool of totems that can possibly spawn on the map. At the start of the trial, the game will randomly select 5 of these totems and place them throughout the map. You won't know where they are and which ones they're going to be until you come up to them. So we're going to show you each and every location to give you a better chance at finding each and every one of those totems throughout the game, in case you need some extra blood points or you're trying to finish a challenge, maybe get rid of one of the killer's hex perks. So before we get into it, we are going to break this video up into a couple different sections to make it easier for you to jump around and find the totems that you're specifically looking for. We're going to start with the nature-based tiles. These are the ones that really don't have man-made structures, a bunch of junk usually. Then we're going to get into the jungle gyms that you've seen probably on every map. These are mostly no different. And then finally, we're going to show you the main building tiles. These are the tiles that are always on this particular map. These tiles basically don't change positions, and you can usually figure out exactly where the totem's going to be because that map tile is going to be there every single trial. So without wasting your time any further, let's get into the totem spawns on Autohaven Wreckers Gas Heaven. All right, now the first totem spawn that we're going to look at is going to be in the natures tiles. This one is a tree and rock tile. It's pretty distinguishable from the other ones. You'll notice a handful of rock formations. This central rock formation is going to be flanked by 2 birch trees with a 3rd birch tree behind it. The totem is going to be in the middle of this tile, right where the rock is flanked by the 2 birch trees. If you're not quite sure if it's there, just kind of swing around the backside and it might be tucked around the corner. So take a quick look if you happen to be around the edges and you see this. All right, now the next tile we're going to look at is pretty similar to the last one, except a lot less dense. It's more sparse. You still have birch tree. You got a couple of rocks, some oak tree, I believe, some other junk like tires, possibly a hook, possibly a gen. This totem is pretty easy to spot as everything's basically out in the open. There's not much here. So the only difficulty you might have with this totem is that it's going to be facing towards the interior of the totem, toward the interior of the tile, toward the center of the tile. So it might be blocked by line of sight. Just look around the rock with the birch tree and you might just find a totem hiding behind it. Next one we're going to look at is pretty similar to the first one where it has the birch trees flanking the rocks. However, this one tries to confuse you a little bit. There are a lot more rocks and multiple pairs of birch trees. This one is going to be different because there are 3 major formations of rocks. The totem is going to be on the formation of rocks that have 3 birch trees, also facing toward the center of the tile here. You'll have rock, tree, and another tree that's kind of behind it. So take a look on the inside. You should find the totem. Now this variation of the rock tree tile has about 3 very obvious birch trees, a handful of rock formations. Sometimes there's a pallet here. Most noticeable is the two rocks that have the tree kind of in between the two. That tree is up against one of the rocks. It has it makes a little corner with the longer rock and the tree, and tucked in that little corner is going to be your totem. You may also notice that sometimes there's a pallet here. So if you see this pallet, take a look. You might just find a totem. All right, so we leave Azrov's for a moment and make our way to the McMillan estate, because this is the rock tree tile, but they have done some mining and excavation. The rocks are gone. This is an all tree tile, super open, nothing to do here. This is what we call a dead zone. But there's going to be a totem in here. It's going to be kind of towards the center of the tile, still kind of facing inward. It's kind of hard to describe. Instead of being next to the birch tree, this is going to be next to the darker brown barked trees. And it's just going to be right at the base of the trunk. Super easy to spot, lit or unlit. So you shouldn't have a problem with this one at all. All right, now moving away from the nature to a little bit, still open, except for here, sometimes usually you'll have a pallet. This is going to be your junk truck tile. A bunch of junk. It has a truck. That's where I get the name. I know I'm very, very clever with my naming schemes. Anyway, so it's super obvious because it doesn't have any walls or stacks of junk. It's going to have the single truck and basically no trees. The totem here is you're going to notice there's going to be a bunch of tires. There is a tree surrounded by tires, and tucked in that corner, that's going to be your totem. It's at the corner of the tile. Now, another variation of the junk truck tile is going to be the 2-lane. This is where you have two definitive lanes, kind of in an H formation that has a crossway in between. It's at an angle. And in one of these lanes, you're going to have a pallet basically every single time. Also a possibility of a totem here. So an easy way to find this totem is if you find the truck, cross the crossway where the H bar is, and you'll see next to the water heater, usually on the opposite side of the pallet, there's going to be your totem tucked away in this little pocket here. So just keep an eye out. This one's easy to pass up, so keep an eye. Now, as with all junkyards, we just keep adding more and more trash to it. So another variation of the truck junk pile tile is going to be the addition of a car and some more junk. The truck and the car make a little V at one of the edges of the tile next to a birch tree, and you'll see the walls of junk kind of piling around. This is a pretty decent loop, as there's usually a pallet between the truck and the car. Sometimes it's on the other side with the junk. The totem is going to be next to the car, in between the tree and a stack of tires. Now, continuing on with the jungle gym tiles and moving out of the nature, we start with the most basic of all the jungle gym tiles. This is going to be your standard jungle gym. This has a couple entryways, has a window on one wall, diagonal or kitty corner from that window is going to be your pallet. It's going to be kind of 4 or 5 different entryways. Sometimes it'll have a generator. It'll always have a pallet. And you're going to find the totem here on the interior, on the pallet side where the L corner meets. It's going to be tucked away in the grass there. So you should know where this is by now, but here you go. All right, now the next gym we're going to be looking at is going to be the 3-lane or the 4-lane or whatever you want to call it. This is very easily noticed by the long walls of junk piled up to create 3 distinct lanes. There will always be a pallet here. There's going to be a couple of lockers. It'll have one long wall with an opening toward the interior, and then another wall that'll either have an opening or it'll go to a window on the interior or exterior. The totem here, just like in many of the other maps, is going to be on the interior central lane where the locker is, and it's going to be right up against the corner of the locker. So this one shouldn't be too hard to miss if you know where to look. Now, the third jungle gym tile we're going to look at is known as the long wall, short wall tile. This is most noticeable by on the side where the pallet is, there is a long wall that makes an L or a 90-degree angle, and then a short wall that makes an L or a 90-degree angle. And between those two walls are going to be your pallet. Sometimes there'll be a generator here. There will always be a locker. And unlike some of the other maps, the totem here isn't actually in the C section because this has been cut off to make just a corner. Instead, it's going to be on the short wall section on the interior of the tile, and it's going to be stuck in that corner next to a tire and some body parts. So have fun with it. All right, as we get to the end of the jungle gym tiles, we move to a very notorious jungle gym, and that is going to be the L wall T wall tile. Now, fun fact about this tile here is this totem is a guaranteed spawn. Now, how can that be since these tiles are random? Well, if there is an L wall T wall tile, it will always have a totem, no matter how many. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4 of these tiles in the map. There will always be a totem here. So if you find this tile in Gas Heaven, you are guaranteed a totem, my friend. All right, now the final jungle gym tile we're going to look at is going to be the long wall jungle gym. This is arguably the strongest jungle gym in the entire game, and if you know how to run it right, you will understand why. This is noticeable by the long wall with the window, and on the opposite side of the tile is going to be a short wall that has a pallet, and in between the two is usually a generator. There is a guaranteed locker, and in this case, we also have a totem. This one, unfortunately, not guaranteed like the L wall T wall, but much like the standard jungle gym tile, this totem is going to be in your corner on the side with the pallet. So take a look. You might just find one. All right, now this is actually interesting as almost no other map has done this. There's the large stack of car that are piled up throughout the map, and there's kind of a totem here depending on the spawn. You'll see this one is at the edge, opposite of the shack and opposite of the gas station itself. You'll see this V kind of / Y section of where the cars all connect, and this open totem here that's stuck by the trunk of the car. So this is just a little odd one to look out for. All right, now this next one of the main kind of car pile wall, this one isn't in a specific location. This one can actually spawn almost anywhere up and down the wall, where you have the second stack of cars piled up in front of it that make a little tunnel. I've seen this in both sides of the map, both on the shack side and on the exit gate side. So you'll see here it's kind of tucked away. It's a little hard to get to, but take a look. Now the next main tile we're going to look at is the hill. The hill has been featured on many other maps, and this one's actually no different. This has your standard 3 sides surrounded by rock. You can only get up on one side. Sometimes you're going to have a generator, sometimes you're going to have a chest, sometimes you're going to have a hook, sometimes you're going to have all 3, and sometimes you're going to have a totem. This one's very obvious. It's at the very top of the hill. It's not obstructed by anything. It's not tucked away. It's just there at the very top. So as you're running by, just take a look up the ramp, and you might just find a totem. All right, well, I'm sure everybody was waiting for this spectacular moment of when we unveiled the shack. Well, here it is. We got the next tile in our main building set of tiles, and that is indeed the killer shack. It is mostly the same as every other killer shack. It has 2 doors, 1 window, a pallet, 2 lockers upstairs, sometimes a chest, sometimes the basement, and as you're about to find out, sometimes a totem. This totem is going to be on the side with the pallet, just like every other shack. It's going to be tucked in the corner directly next to the pallet and the wall, and it might just be there. So take a look. All right, as we're moving along here and coming up to the final totem, we're not quite there yet. We still got 2 more, but this is going to be another key feature of Autohaven's Gas Heaven map, and that is the destroyed tanker truck. Everybody knows this. It has the 2 staircases up to the back of the cab into the tank, and then it has the window vault that jumps off next to the busted car. So there's actually going to be 2 totem spawns here. This first one is actually going to be on the ground. If you go to that red car that's crashed into the side, you're going to find the totem there right up against the bottom of the truck. Not too hard to miss. All right, as we come up to the penultimate totem, the second of two for the main tanker here on Gas Heaven. This one is going to be a little bit opposite of the one we just looked at. The one we just looked at was on the ground level, up where the red car meets the bottom of the tanker truck. As I said before, the tanker has 2 stairs that goes up behind the cab and into the tank itself. Well, this totem, go on up those stairs, go to the back of the tank, and you guessed it, it's going to be tucked away in the back right corner, just opposite of the window. This one can be a little hard to get to as far as activating. All right, as we come up to the final totem here on Gas Heaven in Autohaven Wreckers, I just want to thank everybody who made it this far. You guys are awesome as always. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Look forward to more coming out, as we are going to cover each and every one of the maps in each and every realm, so you are not surprised whenever you have to hunt down for some totems. And to make sure that you know what's coming, a like is surely appreciated. It makes me happy. It makes YouTube happy. If you want to know when more of these come out, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you'll be notified as long as you turn notifications on. You guys know how YouTube works. Anyway, so the last totem is going to be here in the gas station itself. It's going to be inside, and you're going to make your way past the lobby, and you're going to make your way into the garage. Now, as you enter the garage, you can enter from any of the doors that are open, but it is going to be tucked away in the front corner. So if you go to the front of the garage where the back of the truck is, and on the left side as you're facing out, right side as you're facing in, tucked behind that tire, it's going to be a totem. So thank you guys, and remember, stay safe out there in the fog.